Hi Junior Church, it's me and Bessie again, just to bring you your little word, encouragement and your little craft for today. Happy Sunday, we hope you're all getting on okay. Some of you will be back at school, we hope you're having a good time. Some of you like Bessie won't be. Are you managing, Bessie? Maybe. Little bit. Bessie's a bit fed up really. And she's missing all her friends. Are you missing going to church, Bess?
Yeah.
So we hope that it's just nice to send a little message out to you saying we hope you're getting on okay. Hopefully soon at some point we'll all be able to be together. Today we're going to talk about hearing God's voice, and we're going to talk firstly about Samuel. Now Samuel was a gift from God to a lady called Hannah. She desperately wanted a son, and she prayed and asked God for a son. And when she said, "If you give me a son, I will give him back to you," so God gave Hannah a son. And when Samuel was old enough, he went to live with the priest called Eli in the temple. Now you'll find this story of Samuel in 1 Samuel. There's two books in the Bible in the Old Testament called Samuel, because Samuel was quite an important guy. And so you'll find this story in 1 Samuel 3. Okay, so I will start reading the story now. Okay, so when the boy was old enough, she took him back, this is Hannah, back to the temple and presented him to Eli the priest. So Samuel served in the temple under Eli. One night Samuel was sleeping when he heard someone call his name. He got up and ran to Eli. "Here I am, you called me," he said. "I didn't call you," Eli answered. "Go back to bed." So Samuel went back to bed. Again the Lord called Samuel, and the Lord called, "Samuel, Samuel." Samuel jumped out of bed and went to Eli. "Here I am, you called me." "I didn't call you," said Eli. "Go a second time, go back to bed." A third time God called Samuel. Samuel got up and went to Eli. "Here I am, you called me," he said. Finally Eli realised that it was God who was calling Samuel. He told Samuel, "Go and lie down, and if he calls you again, say, 'Speak, Lord, your servant is listening.'" Samuel went back to bed, and sure enough, he heard the voice of God calling, "Samuel, Samuel." Then this time Samuel answered, as Eli had told him, "Speak, for your servant is listening." Some people think that God only speaks to grown-ups and only calls grown-ups to do things for him, but that isn't true. Samuel probably was about 5 or 6, which might be some of your ages. What's your age, Bessie?
6.
Bessie's 6, so about Bessie's age probably, when God spoke to him in the night. And God wants to speak to each one of you, and he's always speaking to you. And it's something that we can do, is we can learn to hear his voice. So at first Samuel didn't know that it was God speaking. He thought it was Eli, and Eli had to tell him how to recognise the voice of God. Okay, so Bessie, I've got a question for all of you. So I'm going to ask you all, and you can tell whoever you're watching this with, or if you're not watching it with anyone, go and find someone to tell them. And I'm going to ask Bessie, and she can answer to everyone. What was the last thing that Jesus said to you? So Bessie, what was the last thing that you remember Jesus said to you?
Don't worry about this coronavirus, it will be fine.
So one time when we were praying, Bessie felt like that's what Jesus said to her, told her not to worry. Okay, so in a minute we're going to do a little activity where we can listen to God's voice and hear what he has to say to us. So first of all, we're going to follow a few simple steps. This isn't the only way that you can hear God, but it's a good way of practicing. And like Samuel had to learn what God sounded like and how to hear him, we all need to practice and learn too. So first of all, what we're going to do is we're going to quiet ourselves down. You can do quiet yourself down. These are the actions. There's actions. Ready? So everybody, quiet ourselves down. That means finding somewhere to chill out. Maybe put a bit of music on. Maybe away from distractions and stuff. Stay with me for a minute, Bess. You trying to run off to do it now? So we're going to quiet ourselves down. Okay. Next, we're going to fix our eyes on Jesus. So here you go. I need you through my actions, Bessie. Fix our eyes on Jesus, which means we're going to imagine Jesus. You might imagine Jesus in your favourite place, maybe walking on the beach or in a nice place that you like to sit and snuggle and read or something. Or you could imagine him in a Bible story. So for example, you could imagine him when he was feeding the 5,000 and dishing out all that food. So we imagine Jesus. And then we listen to the spontaneous, that's a big word, but the bubbling thoughts, so the little bubbling thoughts that come into our heads like this. So nice little action. And the fourth way is we write it or draw it down, okay? So, quieten yourself down, fix your eyes on Jesus, listen to the bubbly thoughts, and write it down. And then we have a look and check that actually what we think God said to us is a nice thing, because God only says nice things. So if it's not nice, it's not from him, okay? So we're going to try that now. So me and Bessie are going to go off and we're going to quiet ourselves down and we're going to ask God for a picture. And while we're doing it, why don't you pause this video and have a go at it yourself and see what God has to say to you. Okay, we are back and we've just been having a little bit of time of should we do the actions again, Bessie? What do? We quiet ourselves down, we fixed our eyes on Jesus, we listened to the bubbling thoughts and we wrote them down or drew them. So Bessie is going to show you what she felt like Jesus said to her. So Bessie?
So this is what I felt. So
I'll show you the picture, I'll hold it. What's this picture of, Bessie?
We're walking along the beach. And
who's we?
Me and Jesus are walking on the beach and Jesus says, don't worry.
That's a really nice picture Bessie got from Jesus. And then she also felt like he said this.
Don't worry, I am always with you. I will heal you. I am bigger than coronavirus.
Thank you, Bessie. That's really good.
And here's it.
And Jackson, you did a picture too. Do you want to show your picture? Here's Jackson's picture. Jackson's picture, you can see. What's your picture of, Jackson? Oh, Jackson's feeling a bit shy to share.
It's a picture of the beach.
Yeah, Jackson had a picture of the beach too.
Black bit of a big wave.
There was a big wave, was there? Yeah, wow. Right, and so actually there's another craft you can be doing. And this is to make listening ears. Because you know how Samuel said, I'm here, speak Lord, your servant is listening. So I have very roughly, Bessie, leave them, very roughly drawn out ears and coloured them in blue. They look funny, don't they? They look listening ears. And what you could do, if you had paper plates, you could stick them on there. Should we put them on Jackson? Jackson, do you want to have listening ears? There we go. And you might want to put a hairband in between or some pipe cleaner so they sit on your head. I couldn't find any of those things, so we've just got the ears.
I could have them on mine because I have hairbands.
You have hairbands, so Bessie could have done that. So that's your little challenge, a little craft you could be making. And so I want to challenge you, if you haven't already, during watching this video, done a little bit of trying to hear God's voice, why don't you practice it this week and see what Jesus has to say to you? Because he's always speaking to you. Okay, we're going to go now. So we're going to say bye from us.
Bye from us.
See you soon.
See you soon next time.
Yeah.
Bye.